So I recently came across an article that reminded me of the importance of being proactive. And while the world is being challenged with our current pandemic, we have this golden opportunity to be the example for our patients, our team, and our family. It's the power of choosing how to respond to a difficult situation. That's what we're going to be talking about this week, friends, because yes, there's been a lot of fear, confusion, trepidation, and, well, uncertainty. And yet, as physicians, we are thrust onto this role as leaders during a time when really many people are looking for us for guidance and strength. And while we can't always offer certainty on what lies ahead, we can inspire those around us with one simple yet powerful tool: the ability to respond proactively rather than reactively. So let me explain using a wonderful example. During World War II, the Allied forces wanted to add protective armor to their warplanes. And while you can't armor a whole plane, the War Department had to decide where to allocate the armor. And initially they had planned to examine the planes that were returning from combat and see where they were hit the worst and armor those areas specifically. And it turned out that the wings, the area near the tail gunner, and down the center were hit the worst. So it seemed intuitive to just armor those areas. And at that time, the War Department had hired Abraham Wald. He was a Hungarian-born mathematician and statistician to help with this project. And again, as I said, it made sense to armor the areas that were hit the worst, but Wald made a very bold recommendation. He actually recommended to armor the areas that were not riddled with bullets. You see, they were looking at the planes that had returned from combat. They were reacting to a situation rather than proactively looking forward and realize that's the areas where there were no bullets that should be covered with armor, as those planes did not return back from combat. So instead of reacting to where the bullet holes are, they were proactive. Wald made the recommendation to just armor the areas where the bullet holes are not, since those planes did not make it back. So being proactive is far more important than being reactive. Let me explain a little bit further. How do we do this? In his classic book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, Stephen Covey lays the foundation for being proactive. Setting yourself up for success can only be achieved by being proactive. It requires you to accept responsibility no matter how hard it will be, or actually how dire the situation, to not only accept responsibility, but to take it one step farther and take action to make things better. So even when circumstances seem to be really working against you, a proactive person will find a way to act rather than to be acted upon. In his book, Covey uses Viktor Frankl as the ultimate example to demonstrate a proactive mindset. So Frankl was a Jew living in Austria during World War II. He and his family were sent to a concentration camp, and they were stripped of all their civil liberties and subjected to unimaginable cruelty. Except for him and his sister, everyone in his family was either executed or died from the horrors of the concentration camp and their conditions. Now, despite having been stripped of everything, Frankl knew that there was one freedom that could not be taken from him: the ability to respond to his circumstances. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." And during Frankl's time in the concentration camp, his stimuli were death, cruelty, starvation, and deprivation. The response to these stimuli could have been to give up and lose all hope. But even during the horrors of the concentration camp, Frankl was able to separate stimulus and response. And it's in that gap that he recognized he had a choice to respond to the stimuli in a way that chose hope over death. He ultimately chose to find meaning in his survival, in his suffering. So how do you become more proactive? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to manage your first hour. You must control the first hour of the day, period. All day success begins with this first hour. One of the most mentally draining aspects of being a physician is the incredible number of decisions we make during a clinical shift. And while we likely make 1 to 2 major decisions per patient encounter, the enormous amount of choices we make daily leads to things like burnout. By winning the first hour of the day, you will win the day. Now, successful physicians and nurses, they must develop and actually defend their first hour of the day. Create this habit in your life. Brian Tracy, a legendary motivational speaker, mentions that successful people are simply those with successful habits. A great way to start the day is with your own hour of power. Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, Tim Ferriss are just a few that have their version. I have our version, we've talked about it before, called the Arise Ritual. I've been practicing my Arise Ritual for well over 3 years now, and that's the amount of time that I've gained during this ritual has been innumerable for me. Using my Arise Ritual as a model to develop your own. The key to create one is set one that works up for you. Start small, let's say 15 minutes at first, but the key is to develop a plan that you can do every single morning. So Arise, A, affirmations, R, read, I, inhale or breathing, S, scribble, E, exercise. And I'll put a link below of my Arise Ritual. I've done another video for that before. But the great thing about a morning ritual is that it's just for you. You don't need an extraordinary amount of time to set yourself up for success or for a successful day. From start to finish, my morning routine takes just about an hour. So at times I go to bed earlier so I get up sooner, and that's okay. What I've gained in physical and mental health is immeasurable. I encourage you to do the same. There's a great quote that says, you've got to wake up every morning with determination if you're going to go to bed with satisfaction. That's by George Lorimer, and that is absolutely true. Proactive doctors decide. Successful physicians are decisive. They don't agonize over their decision. Develop this muscle, and you'll be on the road to a successful and healthier long-term career. Now, let me be clear from the start. I'm not suggesting you make reckless decisions in your attempt to make a decision. Rather, I advocate for thoughtful decision making. I want you to be bold and take the necessary steps to learn the keys to becoming more decisive in your decisions. So there's a great rule called the 10-10-10 rule, and it was developed by Susie Welch. Susie Welch is a business writer for publications such as Bloomberg Business Week. She has a great way where she kind of puts a time frame on things, 10-10-10. How will you feel about this decision in 10 minutes? How will you feel about this decision in 10 months? And how will you feel about this decision in 10 years? Again, it puts a little time frame on it, but very approachable for us. And this approach actually forces you to look at decisions in a very specific time frame. It helps remove some of the emotion out of the decision. Part of the physician struggle is we feel that all decisions are important, and they're not. They are necessary, but they don't carry equal weight. So remember, few decisions are irreversible. Remembering this allows you to take a deep breath and focus on the decision that needs to be made. So remember that, friends. Proactive people own the problem and the solution. When you own the problem, you own the solution. That's a very key important thing to remember. Don't look back. You're not going that way. Remember that. Mary Engelbreit reminds us of that all the time. As high-achieving physicians, we tend to be overly critical of ourselves. This leads neither you or your team anywhere. Accept the situation, fix it, and move on. Part of accepting responsibility is finding a solution and pledging to yourself that it will not happen again. Everyone has a lot to do, especially you as a physician. Act quickly and swiftly so you and your team can get back to work. And this approach is built for long-term success and well-being at work and in your home. After all, isn't that our ultimate goal? Also, friends, proactive people surround themselves with other proactive people. Your overall wellness and success doesn't occur in a vacuum. It takes hard work, persistence, and the drive to achieve. Now, motivational speaker Jim Rohn famously said this, that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So in the world of medicine, this is especially true, right? If you want to accelerate your success and be more proactive, find people who share your values, your mindset, and your drive. Seek these individuals out, learn from each other, learn from their wins and learn from their losses, And again, it's about that community that helps drive you together. Proactive people are constantly striving to learn and grow. Are you better today than you were yesterday? You'll quickly see that successful people are active and perpetual learners. Professionally, keeping up with the medical literature is paramount. Make this a habit for yourself. Read books on self-development, such as Brendan Burchard's High Performance Habits. In fact, I have it right here. Here's his book, right here. Again, there's also David Schwartz's Magic of Thinking Big. These are two great books that develop this growth mindset. Now, if you need more resources, my mission is to give you the courage and the tools needed to help you learn, grow, and prosper in the essential areas of your life, personally and professionally. So if you're interested in learning more resources, again, there's going to be a link just right below. Make sure you hit that link and welcome yourself to the Medicine Revive community. I invite you to join this community. It's filled with thousands and thousands of other physicians who are interested in growing, learning, thriving in medicine. So again, friends, until next time, be good to yourself and each other. We'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.